I'm Diana Steele, and I'm here at Fresh Street Market in West Vancouver to talk about yogurts. If you've ever found yourself standing in front of the big wall of yogurts in your grocery store wondering what yogurt am I supposed to choose, I want to give you a few things to think about. I recently found myself in France in front of a yogurt wall, and that is even more confusing because number one, c'est en français, and number two, there's so much to choose from. So what did I ask myself? Well, who's eating the yogurt? So that's number one. Is it kids, or is it going to be my parents, or is it going to be just people that are having it for post-workout snacks? Do they have any health issues? Are you looking for a yogurt that's good for a diabetic, or looking for one that's good for someone that has high cholesterol? Or are people trying to be mindful of their intake in terms of calories and trying to go for lower calorie? So those are the different things that you can look for. I also look at the ingredient list. So number one ingredient has to be milk. I want to make sure that I'm getting milk in there. And ideally, if it's milk, made with vitamin D added, and then you get a vitamin D source. Then you can think about the fat content of your yogurts. And so looking in here, you can say, okay, well, if it's for children, you don't have to worry so much about the amount of fat. So having something that's 3% milk fat is just fine. Kids can handle having milk fat. And in fact, it's helpful for them to give them a few extra calories because they have such small stomachs. When you're going for some more satiety things, or if it's post-exercise, what I look for is getting a little bit more protein. And so then going for something that's a Greek yogurt. But be mindful, some of these Greek yogurts are also 11% milk fat. And so that is not something that I would choose after a workout. I want something that's high in protein, but also going to be low in fat calories. So I would do a Greek yogurt that is fat-free. Then when I would be thinking about something like probiotics, say my kids have been going on antibiotics, or say a parent was having bouts of diarrhea, or you've been traveling and you're having some GI upset, great time to have probiotics. And so if it says probiotic, that means that the bacteria are alive in the colon, they survive the acid environment of your stomach, and it just helps to sort of replenish your bacterial flora. So that's a really great time to have a probiotic yogurt. If you just like to have plain yogurt, you don't want to have any flavoring, then go for the low fat. Make sure that it's just milk and your active bacterial cultures. You don't need to have any added sugar or gelatin or anything like that. So go for something quite natural. If you like to have something that's sweetened or flavored, then make sure that the ingredients on there have actually fruit. So you want it to be milk and then the fruit. So strawberries, for example, as the second ingredient. And then it's going to have some sort of sweetness. Now, some of them will have sugar, and so obviously that's going to be higher in calories. So for those that are being a little bit more mindful of the total calories, you can do some artificial sweeteners or alternative sweeteners. And there's something new on the product. This one here is made with Splenda. It's one of the sweeteners that is accepted by the Diabetes Association, so you can go for that, and it's going to be very low in calorie. I suggest steering clear of the yogurts that have a lot of aspartame in them, just not something that I recommend having a lot of in your diet. So if you can limit that as much as possible, I'd rather you have plain yogurt and just add in fresh berries. But there is something new that's on the Canadian market now that we can add in stevia into foods. This Iogo, or Yogo, it's actually pronounced Yogo, I've always said Iogo, but it's Yogo, has stevia in it. And stevia is a natural sweetener. It's made from a plant, and they take the stevioids, which is the extract of stevia, and they add it into the yogurt. Now, stevia is between 200 and 300 times sweeter than sugar, which means you use very little. However, it does have a bit of a metallic, sort of bitter taste, so they've added a tiny bit of sugar into this particular product. So one of these has 3 grams of sugar. So a little bit of sugar, but if you are a diabetic, sugar with protein is not such a big deal because the protein is going to slow the absorption of your carbohydrates, and it's certainly much lower than 15 or 30 or 40 grams of sugar that you might have in some yogurts. So lots of different options for you to choose from. If you're going for an unsweetened or a lower sugar option, then choose one like Yogo that has the stevia, and otherwise go for what your family is looking for. And you know, ideally it's up to you in terms of taste and calories as well as fat.
Thanks, Diana. If you want to know more or have other nutrition questions, you can contact Diana at 604-739-3290 or check out her website, eatingforenergy.com.